Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the BlackBrazilToday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So today I'm bringing you another reaction to another video that I came across, and I definitely had to comment on this. A lot of points that this young lady made is just it's emblematic of some of the discussions that are going on about relationships these days. Of course, we know if you live in the United States, this is particularly speaking about what's going on between Black men and Black women. It's an ongoing battle. It's an ongoing war. This has led to, I think, the increase of Black men willing to date outside their race. This has led to more Black men seeking for the one overseas, leading to this movement that we call the passport bros. A lot of things that's been going on, particularly the last 10, 15, 20 years, is just, it's a lot of finger pointing going on. A lot of people believe this has to do with, basically all of this can spring out of just capitalism. As people actually have access to more resources or dream of having access to more resources, their demands of what they find in a partner, in terms of finances, it just goes up substantially. It's like I've seen just numerous videos over the last couple of years of just women just talking about how they demand a man who makes six figures or seven figures. I see people like, no, $1 million a year is not good enough for me. And it's always a question of like, okay, what in the world that we live in, where the vast majority of people will not become, if not millionaires, multimillionaires, what makes anybody deserve to be with a person who's a multimillionaire? And the other thing that so many people don't seem to note is that when a man gets to a point where he's making that kind of money, there's certain characteristics that he's looking for in a female. And as a lot of women have adapted those same criteria, those same characteristics, sometimes it creates for a clash. Like, okay, you're a boss woman now. I don't necessarily want a boss woman at my side. I want a woman who's going to be feminine, who's going to be my support. And people don't see that. So it's just like, oh, well, you're not man enough to handle me. Like, no, I shouldn't have to be man enough if I'm dealing with a person who comes across as masculine and has the same traits as I want, or the same traits that I have. If I have those traits, why would I want to have those same traits in a woman? Anyway, I'm sure many of you have seen this debate going online for a long time, so I'm not going to cover all of the points in that. But I do want to discuss this video that this young lady posted, because she touches on a lot of points and a lot of questions. These are valid points that she's making. I do wonder what her position is in terms of what the questions that she's making, and if somebody has provided her with answers to some of these questions. And if so, if there are answers out there that many people would believe would be sufficient for her questions, would she be willing to accept some of those answers? I also see in what she's saying in this video that you have some of the same things going on in Brazil that's going on in America in terms of relationships, particularly between Black men and Black women. So today's video is called the inferiority syndrome in Black women. How many Black women are in relationships with people who are inferior financially and intellectually? Okay, a lot going on there. Again, let me just review her video. Before I do, definitely like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the notification bell. This is going to be intriguing because there's a number of points in here that I want to address. So let me just get into it, and we'll flesh this out a little bit more. So this is a young lady whose video that I found. I'm going to just, instead of breaking down with my analysis first, I'm going to go ahead and dive directly into her video and just overdub what she had to say. Before I get into this, just to put this in context, before she even starts speaking, she starts the video off talking about this couple that I've talked about in at least 2 videos, the popular Brazilian singer known as Isa. Isa had a baby a few months ago. Isa is in a relationship with a soccer player. To me, this guy is not white. People were throwing shade at her, saying she's a swirler, or what they call a palmitagem in Brazil. And apparently the guy cheated on her while she was pregnant, or a little bit before, or a little bit after she was pregnant. They broke up. She had the baby. They reconciled the relationship. And people are making an issue out of like, why is she dealing with this guy who betrayed her? He cheated on her. He doesn't even have the same financial value that she has. There's a lot going on there. Check out the other two videos that I did on that before. I've talked about Isa in a number of videos, how she is such a great image for Black Brazilian women. She is a brown skinned, clearly Black woman. Isa is a very attractive young woman. She has a growing career. She has everything going for her. So people really look to her, and they were really excited when she got pregnant. People were looking for a brown skinned baby. They made an issue out of the baby that came out very fair skinned in the beginning, as a lot of babies do. But the baby started getting color. Um, so I just wanted to break that down first, so you can have an idea of, because she starts the video off talking about Isa and her partner, Yuri Lima. He's a soccer player. They got together. She got pregnant. He cheated on her. They broke up, and then they got back together. So she's bringing that question to the fore in the first part of her commentary. So let's get directly into what she has to say. This is taken from the Mata Mata Ervidia TikTok channel. So let's check out what she had to say, and then I'm going to come back and put it all in a context and give my opinions on some of the things that she had to say. Recently, Yuri Lima made a post on Instagram practically telling us that he and Isa got back together and that she forgave him after the things he did. This video isn't to talk about Isa or Isa's emotional choices, but to talk about the inferiority syndrome of Black women. How many Black women decide to have relationships with people who are inferior to them financially and intellectually, and sometimes think that this is like a gift, as if this relationship is something they need in order to live? If you're not a Black woman, nobody cares about your opinion in this video. Go on, live your life, go watch something else, but this debate here isn't about you, and nobody cares about your opinion. There are three ways in which the inferiority syndrome of Black women manifests itself in real life. The search for relationships where the other person is financially inferior, intellectually inferior, and sometimes it's a person who doesn't have the looks to match that Black woman. And it's something like, I want to relate to people because I'm attracted to them, because I like people who look like that, but because they think that these people can guarantee that they won't be alone. That this person, because they're inferior financially, intellectually, and because they're ugly, will be with them at all times and won't leave them for another person, as has happened in other relationships. Which doesn't guarantee anything, because there's that famous phrase, right? Give an ugly person a chance and then you'll be the ugly one. The second thing is the whole social logic that we have that women can't be alone. And what does that mean? Not having a man by their side, because even if these women have friends, family, community, they think they're alone when they don't have a relationship. So they end up picking up anyone and staying with anyone to ensure that they are socially valid, because they have this man by their side. That validates and strengthens the idea that yes, now you're not alone because you have a male by your side, and that already guarantees your happiness. That's why we see many successful women with money, with established life, humiliating themselves for a male because they really need to have a guy by their side, because otherwise her success won't be validated. Otherwise, anything she's achieved in life won't be validated if she doesn't have this man by her side. The third thing is talking about race. Why do these mostly Black women have interracial relationships? Because the white man is socially branded as a man who is always beautiful, always valued, always incredible, even if he is garbage. Because our society marks whiteness as a marker of beauty, a marker of quality, a marker of exceptionality. If you're white, you're already exceptional. That's why many of these women who are in relationships where these guys are ugly, inferior financially, intellectually, are white guys. Because whiteness already nullifies all those things that we already read socially as not so good. The Eurocentric beauty standards of our society makes us Black women believe that we're not good enough. That we grow up
que a
thinking
gente
that we
cresça
always
achando
have
que
to
a
take the
gente sempre tem
crumbs,
que ficar com as
always have to
migalhas,
accept the
sempre
favor
tem que
that nobody else
aceitar a
wants.
favor, ficar com o que ninguém mais
And
quer.
this is a logic
E
that
isso
we
é
need to
uma lógica que a
change
gente
and
precisa
turn this
mudar
little
e
switch
virar
in
essa
our
chavinha
heads.
na nossa cabeça. Isso só
It only
virou na
changed
minha
in my
cabeça,
head when I
só
left Brazil,
trocou de lugar
went
quando
to
eu
the
saí do
United
Brasil e fui
States,
para os
and
Estados
saw that the
Unidos
logic of
e vi que a
affection there was
lógica de
completely
afetividade lá era
different
completamente diferente. Por eles
because they
terem
have this
essa
separation
separação
between
entre
black and
pessoas
white
pretas e
people.
brancas
You live
e
inside black
vive dentro de
societies with black
sociedades
people
pretas
always
com
seeing a
pessoas
standard
pretas
of beauty that
vendo
is similar to
sempre um
yours.
padrão de beleza que é parecido com o
So
teu.
what can you do?
Então, o que que tu pode fazer?
Consume content from black
Consumir
people, watch things that
conteúdo de
feature
pessoas
black
pretas,
people, look
assiste
for a standard
coisas
of
que
beauty
tenham
that is
pessoas
similar to
pretas,
yours.
procura um padrão de beleza que seja parecido com o teu.
Because when you get into
Porque
this
quando tu
idea of
fica
watching
nessa ideia de
romantic
ficar
series and
assistindo
movies where
séries
the
e filmes
ideal
românticos,
partner is
onde
always an average
o
white man,
parceiro ideal é sempre um
you'll
homem
get it
branco
into your
mediano,
head that the
tu
ideal
vai colocar
partner
na
for
tua
you
cabeça
is an
que o
average
parceiro
white
ideal
man.
pra ti é um
But
homem
anyway,
branco
that's it.
mediano. Mas enfim,
Kisses.
é isso. Beijo.
So you heard what this young lady had to say. I mean, she made a lot of points here, a lot of points that go into some of the debates and discussions that's going on about relationships, particularly between black men and black women in the United States. And in some ways, when I look at some of the discussions going on in Brazil, they're very similar. But I always like to say, well, it's slightly different. There's some other things that's going on in Brazil historically that are slightly different from what happened in the United States. But let me get directly into some of the points that I want to make in considering what she was saying. Okay, the inferiority syndrome in black women. First, let me talk about a few other posts that relate to what she's talking about. She talked about the idea of the whatever type of white man. The white man is supposed to be at the top of the pyramid. He can do no wrong. He's the epitome of attractiveness, of wealth and intelligence, and everything that is supposed to be positive is going to be associated with the white man. And this syndrome affects Black Brazilian women as well. This woman talked about this a few years ago, Flavia Simas. She was calling for the end of the romanticizing of the European white man. So this is a syndrome that in a Brazil that's always promoted to Black people, the idea, look, get you somebody white, whiten your offspring, have somebody white by your side and you'll have more value. It's very deeply ingrained in Brazilian culture. It's no way we can hide that. So I always like to tell people, the movies and TV series that we see in the United States, they're broadcast all over the world. So Brazilians get a large dose of this Eurocentric value, not only from their own mainstream media, but also from the media that's shown around the world from the United States. Whenever you hear or you think of the charming prince, you're always thinking of a guy who has a white phenotype. A couple of weeks ago, I put up a video where this woman was talking about, as girls, we saw blonde white men with blue eyes as the perfect man. Now I realize that was wrong. She talked about how raising the self-esteem of Black people could, cure them from this adoration of whiteness. It's a very strong sentiment that still goes on in Brazil, even though people are more likely to talk about it openly now. It was just kind of accepted years ago. Nobody really questioned it. Another thing I want to point out is that the singer Isa, in some videos that I did back, I thought I saw somewhere that her fortune was estimated at 200, 300 million reais. I'm not sure if that's true, because according to this from 2024, says her fortune is estimated at 50 million reais. Okay. I don't know which one is right, which one is wrong, but suffice it to say, she's worth a lot more money than the guy that she's with. Yuri Lima is said to be worth about what? 3.5 million reais. That's about 600,000 euros. I mean, definitely he's not a poor man, but he doesn't have the same value of Isa. Now, the other thing I want to point out, there's always this question of palmitagem in Brazil. Okay, let me see. I know there's something, this idea that Black people, at first it was just Black men that they were criticizing, but then Black men said, look, why do you criticize us when Black women do the same thing? We both have been indoctrinated with preferring whiteness for romantic partners. Go to the blackbraziltoday.com blog. You see all of these articles talking about, palmitagem. People are calling for Black love now. We have to heal ourselves of this adoration of whiteness. And this is what this young lady had to say. Black love can't heal us until we deconstruct our adoration of whiteness. Okay. So what I want to talk about beyond that is when we talk about, she said that black women tend to end up with people who are financially, intellectually inferior to them, even people who they just don't consider to be physically attractive. I'll never forget when I first started going to Brazil, I saw on some dating websites. Now, this was back in the early 2000s, right? I never forget, I saw this picture of this gorgeous, like clearly black woman, Brazilian, and she got with this guy. He was a white guy from, like, I think if he was from Russia, or if anyway Eastern Europe. I mean, I, who am I to judge people? But I'm just saying the guy he just looked hideous to me. I'm like, she was drop dead gorgeous, and he was just like, he wasn't even average. I mean, this dude was hit seriously. I'm just like, wow. And this thing of romanticization, come and get me out of Brazil and take me out of my miserable life. I don't care what you look like. I've a number of black men I've known who lived in Rio, African men, Haitian men, American black men. They talk about, you could go to any Brazilian beach and see just drop dead gorgeous black women with just a very basic looking white guy, particularly those who are on, tourist travel and they're from Europe. And it's just like, it's shocking. I mean, I've seen this myself. So this is another thing that she's talking about. Like, why is it that we seem to settle for even the average white man? Somebody was saying, and I keep making a reference to this video. This guy made a video, and I still haven't put it on the channel yet. Definitely have to talk about this video. He was saying that in Brazil, there's a woman that they're calling the Afro-Pachi, or the Preta Patricia. And basically, this is kind of a black Brazilian woman who's kind of similar to the black American princess. In fact, I was using the BAP, you say Black American Princess, and for the Afro-Pachi, I was calling her BAP as well, saying the Brazilian Afro-Pachi. The woman who's very much into fashion. She has maybe some buying power that's above average, and she's looking for somebody who is probably financially stable. So in the video that this brother made, he was just like, look, black men, if you are average black man, do not go after no Afro-Pachi or Patricia, because they're not looking for you. They're looking for somebody who's up here. And he was just making a point, like, if you're a black guy, you got to be way above average. She might settle for a guy, an average white guy, but if you're going to be a black guy, you got to be way above average. This is what he was saying. Where it's echoes of some of the things that we're hearing out of the United States. So along with this question of Palmitagem, the question here, when we see black men who are financially successful, who have hundreds of millions of reais, what type of women do they usually end up with? A few years ago, now I remember in 2020, they were questioning, like, how come there's no black Brazilian billionaire yet? So as of 2021, 2022, the point is that a lot of people are saying, and a lot of sources online are saying, that the singer businessman Tiaguinho is a Brazilian billionaire. They're saying he's the first black Brazilian billionaire in the country. But I have never seen, this is Tiaguinho, I have never seen Tiaguinho with a woman who I would even consider mixed. Most of the women I've ever seen Tiaguinho with, they're always something close to white, or if you white Latino, if you prefer. So when we look at Neymar. Neymar just made headlines because he just returned to Santos after 12 or 13 years playing over in Europe and then the Middle East. I've never seen Neymar with a clearly black woman. The most you're going to see with Neymar is going to be a light-skinned mestizo, mixed person or whatever. I've never seen Neymar. And Neymar is, I don't know how much Neymar, I wouldn't be surprised if he was worth about $500 million reais or something like that. You've never seen Neymar with a black woman. Take a look at Roberto Carlos. I didn't know this, but Roberto Carlos, another well-known soccer player in Brazil. I didn't know much about him after he retired, but as it turns out, Roberto Carlos is worth hundreds of millions of reais as well. And he's made headlines a couple of weeks ago. I was going to do a story about him. Like, he has, I don't know, somewhere between 8 and 11 kids, and he's going through a divorce. So during the period of the divorce, from what I understand, the wife that he's divorcing is in one of his mansions, and then I think his father-in-law or somebody in the family is living in the other house. So they said he was living at the headquarters of a soccer team in Spain, that I guess he's affiliated with that team in some type of way. But okay, Roberto Carlos, hundreds of millions of reais. I can almost guarantee that both the women, or probably, I haven't seen all of the women that he has his kids by. Most likely, they're probably all white though, because this is just how we see it. I rarely see a rich Black Brazilian man with a Black wife or someone who even looks clearly Black. This is the billionaire. Oh, he's not a billionaire. Let me change that. Geraldo Rufino is a multimillionaire. When I first became aware of him some years ago, I know his worth was estimated around 50 million reais. And then, I saw his kids. They were on the cover of this, Small Business, Big Money magazine. And I saw what his kids look like. So he married a white woman. His kids married a white woman. And this is what we talked about, this transfer of wealth always from Black people over to white people. Okay. So here's a guy, I think he made a business out of collecting, I don't know, recycling stuff. That's what I think. You have Ronaldo Phenomenal. I've never seen Ronaldo. There was an article on here like the 15 women that Ronaldo has been associated with. Never seen Ronaldo with a clearly Black woman. Okay. So this is what I'm saying. When it comes to the choices of Black men in Brazil who have, income, who have a lot of money, who have wealth, they generally don't choose Black women. So let's get back to what this young lady was talking about, because I want to touch on some of the points that she made here. Okay, we already talked about Yuri Lima and Isa. So he's estimated to be about 3.5 million reais, where she's at about 50 million reais. We talk about people who are inferior financially and intellectually. I did a video, I don't know, maybe 6 months to a year ago, where this popular Black journalist was talking about some of the choices of some of the successful Black women he knew. And some of the women were just of the attitude that says, look, I invested in my future. I study languages. I have an advanced degree. I have a master's. I have a PhD. Why should I marry a Black man just because he's Black? So these are some of the discussions that's going on in Brazil as well. Let me go on and continue to talk about some of her points. Sometimes the people don't have the looks that match a Black woman. So in other words, a gorgeous Black woman with an average looking white guy. Now to me, and I'll say it again, Yuri Lima to me is just not a white guy. In Brazil, he would be called a pardo, a person of mixed race. He's clearly not white to me. So I hope she's not referring to Isa as in the terms of just getting an average white man, because he's a mixed guy and he does not have the same value as Isa, who he has a baby with. The whole social logic that we as women can't be alone. Now, I don't disagree. A woman can choose to be alone if she chooses to, but I've seen too many cases where Black women say they don't have a problem being alone, but then it comes out in the way they express themselves, some of the things that they've talked about with their disappointments in life. It's like, okay, if you want to be alone, but don't put on this disguise, this face that says I'm alone and I'm happy. I got all this money and I'm happy, when sometimes it's just absolutely not true. So nobody has a problem with anybody who chooses to be alone. But at the same time, if you're somebody who needs somebody by your side, don't go in front of the public and say, I don't need a man. Maybe some women don't. But deep down, I know that there's a lot of women who do want to be in relationships. But in order to make it work, what are the demands of the man? What are the demands of the woman? Are the demands that the woman has, are they reachable? Are they, how can we say, are they reasonable, or are they out of hand? I mean, I asked that question because particularly in the United States, where the average man in the United States does not earn 6 figures. So if you're looking for all of this criteria, a man who's over 6 feet tall, a man who's, rich, making 6 figures a year, a man who's a Christian, what all of these other, every time you put on another characteristic that you want, it lowers the pool of the type of man that you can actually get. Okay. And you talked about Black men. I think the statistics said about 8% of Black men are making 6 figures or more. Okay. So they end up picking anyone to ensure that they're socially valid, because they have to have a man by their side. Again, that's up for the person to decide. If you feel like, okay, I don't have a problem spending my older years alone with a cat or a dog, then that's your decision. But I will say that one thing that we have to understand, when we look at the relationships, in general, a lot of people who are experts in relationships, they say it works this way. They say when it's time to take the relationship to the physical realm, women control that. But when it's time to go to get married, it's going to be the man, is going to be the one who chooses to marry this particular woman. So It's the question. It's not the question of who do you want. The question is who wants you. So there's going to be a lot of women out there that's waiting on that multimillionaire, and they're never going to get there. You know, what are they bringing to the table that's going to attract a multimillionaire? They're going to spend the rest of their lives, you know, maybe single, maybe by choice, and maybe not. But that's the choice that they have to make. We see many successful women with money and established life humiliating themselves. That could be true. But then again, what attributes does that woman have that's not attracting the average man? And if we're talking about a man that's at the top of the financial hierarchy, do you have the attributes that he's looking for? If he's a boss man, is he looking for a boss woman? Because we're going to have two bosses at the same time. It may not work. And that's something that I'm just seeing that most women just don't want to accept that. Why do these mostly Black women have interracial relationships? Because the white man is socially branded as a man who is always handsome, always valued, incredible, even if he's garbage. Have to agree with that. It's because the white man has been positioned at the top of the social hierarchy, and this is a well-known fact in Brazil. Whiteness as a marker of beauty, quality, a marker of exceptionality. If you're white, you're already exceptional. Numerous videos I've talked about this, and on the blog. The Eurocentric beauty standards of our society makes us Black women believe that we're not good enough. Absolutely true. It only changed in my head when I left Brazil, went to the United States, and saw that the logic of affection there was completely different. One other thing I want to talk on about this point. A lot of Black Brazilians go to the United States and they perceive that Black people in the United States value ourselves first. We look to Black men and Black women first as our first selection. And that's something that a lot of Black Brazilians are starting to learn. Like, wow, we've been indoctrinated to do the opposite, to go after the white partner. In the United States, Black people value themselves and they go after their peer. And that's something that a lot of Black Brazilians are looking up to. Like, wow, why can't we be more like the Black Americans? They support each other. They want to be with each other. They want to build strong Black families. Because the history of the two countries is the opposite. Because of legalized segregation in the United States, Black people were forced to be with each other. Whereas in Brazil, we want to get rid of Black people. So they implemented the idea of mixing of the races to eventually move the population more towards a whiteness. But one thing that she's missing here is that I don't know if she was in the United States long enough and had enough interactions in the Black community to see that there is a serious problem going on in the Black community in terms of relationships. That's something else. I don't know. A lot of people are not going to notice this. This is a question that's specifically going on in a discussion in the Black community in the United States that maybe she's not aware of. On a whole, Black people still prefer to date each other, but because of this ongoing gender war, it's becoming increasingly difficult for Black people, whether men or women, to secure long-term relationships. Some people are looking elsewhere. So anyway, that's why I wanted to cover this video today, because some of the dynamics that's coming out in relationships in Brazil, they're pretty intriguing. And she's speaking about this inferiority syndrome that Black women have in Brazil. And there's a lot of reasons for that. You know, look at a lot of the videos that I've made. Go to blackbraziltoday.com. Numerous videos talk about this idea of palmitagem and the idea of whitening and the idea that Black women are on the bottom of the social pyramid in Brazil. Anyway, I could go on and on about this, but I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to end this video here. Definitely, I want to know what your opinion is. For those of you who are familiar with the situation with Isa and Yuri Lima, drop a comment in the comment section. If you're just learning about this story, drop a comment. Tell me what you thought about today's story. Like this video, share this video, consider subscribing to the channel. Click on the notification bell because I'm always putting up new videos for you to check out. With that said, I'm going to end this video here and request that you all come back. Check out the next video that I post here at Black Brazil Today.